What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
I'm joined today with Ashley Wilson. How you doing today, Ashley?
Great. How are you?
I can't complain. I've got my favorite guest right here in the little thing here. And my favorite guest is here because I interview commercial real estate investors all day, every day. And why am I doing that? Well, I'm going through the 5 different distinct motivations I've found that commercial real estate investors have. And I say, hey, which one's you? Then I go through the 6 different roles on the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die. I explain what each of them are, and then I ask my guests, what's your core competency? And the reason is so that you can communicate effectively on the subject of commercial real estate. And if you go to dandoesdeals.com, you can download your own copy of the die, and you can print it out, and you can explain it to your friends and family. It'll be very exciting. But before we get to that, Ashley, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, everyone. My name is Ashley Wilson. I am a real estate investor. I've been investing for about 13 years. I've done everything from single family, house hacking, note investing, commercial investing. Currently, my focus, and has been for the past few years, is on large apartments. So that's what we're doing today. We're buying large apartments. We are adding some value to them, and then we are selling them. I think it's pretty common that most people do this right now. It's very attractive, but otherwise known as value add syndication.
Awesome. We got a whole whack of virtual assistants who now watch this show just to document for people's own records. So there's I'm going to force you to repeat some of that a little bit later, but let's go through the distinct motivations that people have, because even newbies know why they're doing it. They might not know what they're going to do inside the business, but at least they know why. So the first motivation I found is preservation of purchasing power. So if you have, say, like a family office, or you basically rely on the cash flow that comes from your assets to make your ends meet, then inflation is the enemy, and the only way to stave it off is by making more acquisitions to counteract it, because otherwise inflation will ruin the party. But that's not my primary motivation. My big one is because I got this background in tech, so CRM companies, so that's mass marketing, mass emailing, all the different funnels and all that sort of fun stuff. As a high wage, high salary earner, there's a great big problem, which is you're paying more to tax than anybody else. So it hit me. It's like, well, why don't I pivot my skills into something where I'm getting rewarded for my time and effort in the form of wealth instead. So that's what I'm up to. But the next reason is the most frequently mentioned motivation, which is fast tracking retirement. And what that really means is the person wants to wind down on the amount of time that they spend actually hustling each week or each month or each year or whatever it is. But it means that they're going to, scale it back eventually. But that is not true for the next 2 groups. The first one, they're just plain ambitious. They want to buy their entire hometown. They're the legacy people who they want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to work a day job. So they just have that level of ambition. So that's why they're never going to quit. And that's why they keep on getting more acquisitions. But the last ones, I like to say, they want to save the world. They want to help people who need it. Some people have picked a sector of society, or maybe they haven't even picked it yet, and they just want to leave that door open. Maybe they want to do the Warren Buffett, Bill Gates thing of writing, like giving away 90% or whatever of your net worth upon death. But if you've picked the environment or animals or some sector of society that you want to have a really big impact with, then accumulating wealth and these different assets is by far the most effective single tool you can have to make that sort of impact in society. So Ashley, of those five, what resonates with you? What describes you best? What combination of them really sounds the most like you?
I have a little bit of probably everything. I think primarily what attracted me to real estate in the first place was the trading your time. And I was driven at a very young age to want to be able to be my own boss. I've always been an entrepreneur in spirit. And that was rooted in this belief that I could be there for my family whenever I needed to be, and I didn't have to answer to anyone. And with that, coupled with just having a very creative mindset, I think that bode itself very well to fall into some sort of entrepreneurial venture. I invested in real estate along on the side when I first started working, and that quickly snowballed into full time. And all of the other components that you just talked about, even helping people who need it or creating, multi-generational wealth, all of those things have been and are still motivators for me. But the original draw was definitely the time.
All right, that makes lots of sense. So let's move on to what piece of the puzzle you're looking to do. So taking this for the audience just right from the start, making sure that you can explain all this stuff. Repositioners, I find, are the best ones to start with because they're the ones who are acquisitions, but I put reposition in the name because what they're doing is they're trying to figure out how can they change the property so that it makes more money than it is right now. But the bigger thing that they're doing is there's a fancy word, they call it underwriting. And it really means that they're just doing the math. Okay. They're going through and they're saying, hey, is this property even actually making the money that they say it is right now? What's it actually worth? And what they're really doing the math to do is to find the upside. So the main tools that a repositioner has in their tool belt to find that upside, the first one is operations. And I got the Benjamins going down the toilet here, but operations is more than just collecting rents and unclogging toilets. It's also, there's a marketing piece, which is one of my fortes that I bring to my groups, and that makes sure that the vacancy rate is low. There's also some automations and whatnot, but these days, real estate's hot enough that operations isn't going to be enough on its own in a lot of cases. So the repositioner gets a contractor team. They do a value add like Ashley was just describing. The idea is that if you make the units nicer, then people will pay more money for them. So it makes a lot more sense to actually get that upside by creating it yourself. But if you're like me and you're from the internet, you're going to have a big problem with what we've said so far. You're going to need a local. You're going to need boots on the ground because that's not going to be me. I'm not going to be there in an hour or two. There's no way. So that's what you need to keep track that on the contractor to make sure that they're not cutting corners, that they're keeping to their deadlines, also making sure that the operations are doing what they're supposed to. And if you had all the tenants, look at all of these people standing in a row, they'd say, oh yeah, those are the owners. But of course, it's not that simple. The banks are involved in everything, the financiers, the capital raisers, the mortgage brokers, all those people. And if you want to buy an apartment complex that's worth tens of millions of dollars, you're going to have to go to a bank and say, hey, got tens of millions of dollars. You want to, lend me so I can buy this property? And the financier is going to check out the repositioner and the operations and the local and the contractor, but they're going to want to know something that I haven't mentioned yet, which is who's the sponsor, who's the KP. And in some coaching programs, they don't really dig too far into that, but this is how it works. Even if you're Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, if you want to buy, let's say, a 350 unit apartment complex and you want to get a loan, you need somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. Okay. You're also going to have to show a certain amount of liquidity, and you're also going to have a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you've got all those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Ashley, as far as your core competencies go, what sides of the die are you most likely to contribute to your next deal?
To my next deal, definitely acquisitions and operations and construction. I initially, and obviously KP, but I got into it through KP and operations and construction. That's how I initially did my first deal. And then from there, I kept doing that over and over again. It seemed to work really well. And then I realized that I could build out the rest of that team that I needed. So I've done that, and I have hired an asset manager to manage our properties. So I'm now leading that and leading acquisitions and still KPing and sponsoring the deals.
Beautiful. And my next question is, what's your ideal property? So just so that we're clear, when commercial real estate investors ask each other, say, hey, what you looking for? What's your buy box? Something like that. They're asking really for 3.5 things. Okay. The first thing they're asking for is the geography. Okay. So where should the deal be? Okay. And like states, what counties, that sort of thing. The second thing they're going to want to know is the unit count. Okay. And it doesn't matter if it's multifamily or if it's like a shopping center or if it's mobile home parks, something like that. They all have unit numbers. So that's going to matter. But the third thing and the half thing is class. And they split class into 2 different parts, and they name it the same thing, and they use the same ratings, which annoys me. But the first thing that it is it's the condition of the building. So like, is it in good shape? Is it falling apart? You know, is it really, really high end inside and out? And then the second thing is the neighborhood that it's in. So that's the proximity to schools and the crime rate and stuff like that. So Ashley, as far as an ideal property, a property where if somebody brings it to you, it's easier to say yes and it's more difficult to say no. What's your ideal property?
In a major MSA, we're in a lot of different markets right now, so I'm not hooked on one specific market. The bigger, the better. Ideally, 200 units or more. We've offered on properties over 1,000 units. So I really love the opportunity for economies of scale. And then when you're talking about like the grading system, I think everyone would all agree that anything in an A market, whether it's a minus, B, C property in an A market, is hugely beneficial, especially if you're a value add type of investor.
All right, good stuff. And one of my favorite things, I don't know about you, but one of my favorite things about commercial real estate is that because there are all these different roles, everybody's so helpful. They're always looking to give referrals, but there's another detail, which is that we're all better suited to help some people more than others. Like me personally, it's definitely the sponsors and KPs, just because of my mass marketing and the client relations, basically the list management, segmentation, all that sort of stuff. That's who I tend to be able to help way more than the others on the die. But Ashley, as far as oh yeah, and you're not allowed to break any SEC restrictions. So you're not allowed to entice investors unless you got a 506c raise. Then you can just do whatever the heck you want. But without breaking any SEC restrictions, can you please describe the person who you can help better than anybody else in commercial real estate?
So we only do 506c offerings. So we
So then do whatever you want.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want, I guess, to a limit. But we help obviously accredited investors be able to diversify their retirement strategy. It gets very advantageous from a tax perspective. Most people who invest with us initially invest with us because of the return. And then they come back because of the tax benefits. So it's often not spoken about. People normally lead with return structure, but the tax benefits can be as beneficial, if not more beneficial, when you're investing in real estate in general. And that goes for any operator. I'm not trying to say it's just us that has tax benefit opportunities, but first of all, it's on a case-by-case basis, and it's not limited to one operator, one asset class. So that's who we help. From a personal standpoint as well, I've consulted with many people on repositioning their property. we talked earlier that what I add value to these projects is my construction and operational background. So I have helped a lot of people get their properties back on track, or when they're going into a property, looking at it with maybe a more creative set of business plan ideas.
All right, beautiful. And so I remember we were in a meetup or two. I find my meetups through LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time. Is that the best way to reach out to you, or do you have a website that's better, or some other method?
You can find me on LinkedIn, also on Instagram as Bad Ash Investor. And then my company website is bardowninvestments.com. If you forgot anything I just mentioned, you can go to badashinvestor.com and you can link to everything from there.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. And I've only got one other thing. It's actually not for you though. It's for you in the audience, which is that I'm leading this big campaign these days to get rid of all the red subscribe buttons. Okay, they're ugly, and I hate them. So if you could just move your cursor and click on it, then it turns gray. It's way better. And the reason why it's way better is because it means YouTube pays for these videos instead of me. And that's better, right? And it's free, it costs you absolutely nothing. And all it really means is that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions, but you don't even have to watch those, because just hitting the subscribe button, you've done me an enormous favor, because I want that YouTube Google money so I can do this all the time. So please do that. But you've done me an enormous favor by watching today. And Ashley, you've done me an enormous favor by joining me today. This has been great getting to know you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks.
I just want to tell you, because I've actually seen your website, Real Estate is a Scam, before, and I loved it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I think it's really so spot on. There's good stuff, bad stuff in every industry.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell for Dan the Man.
And thank you. Turn that subscribe button from red like his beard to gray like his beard will be.
So I met Dan through some networking groups for real estate investing. He's a great guy from what I know about him. He's very ambitious, and he makes it easy to come on with his questions, and has a great setup. It's easy, it's clear, concise, and I'd recommend going on his interviews for anyone that's considering it.
It was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was super fun. The process was so easy, a caveman can do it. I mean, if you guys haven't done it yet, you guys need to get on his calendar. Just take 15 minutes of your time, get exposure, find out who Dan is, what he's about. He's a true trifecta. And if you don't know who he is, get in touch with him. Google his name, find him on LinkedIn, do whatever you can, just reach out to him.
So I really appreciate the format. Like I've told you a couple times before, I think it's really great because me personally, I'm very long-winded. I have to purposefully make things more concise, but the way I take things in is I definitely prefer things to be concise and straight to the point and concentrated. And the chance encounters really do that great for individuals. So you can get a good grasp on who they are, what do they do, why do they do it, what space do they operate in. That's why I love chance